Hi, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining me today for the Business and Economics webinar. My name is Sarah Gamboa, and I'm an academic advisor in Fall Program for Freshmen. And we are going to wait just a few minutes to get started and allow folks time to log in. So please sit tight and we'll get things going in about 5 minutes. Thanks so much. Hi again, everybody. I just want to check in real quick for those of you just logging in right now. We're going to wait just a couple more minutes before we get going on the sides here to allow folks a few more minutes to log in. So we'll be getting started probably closer to 4:05. So sit tight for now. Okay, so I think we'll go ahead and get things going now. So again, my name is Sarah Gamboa, and I'm an advisor in Fall Program for Freshmen. Welcome to today's webinar on preparing for a major in business or economics or both, or related majors, related business majors. I want to touch on a few logistics regarding today's session before we jump into introductions. So just as a reminder for you all, this is a webinar, which means that we cannot hear or see you. It also means that using the raise hand feature is not really an effective way to communicate with me, and that the chat feature will be disabled throughout the presentation. So the best way to ask questions is through the Q&A function. I will get to those questions towards the end of the presentation after we're done with the slides. And anything, if for some reason I can't get to your question, please reach out to your assigned advisor for a follow-up so we can clarify anything for you. Also, I am fighting a cold right now, so you may see me sipping on some hot tea throughout just to help with my throat. So just a heads up on that. With that, let's get going with introductions. Okay, so as I mentioned, my name is Sarah, as a lot of you know already, and I'm an advisor in the program. Prior to coming to Fall Program for Freshmen, I was advising in the College of Letters and Science, and was there for almost 11 years, and then switched over to FPF. We're supposed to have an ambassador join us today with this presentation. I think they're running a little bit behind, Sophia. So perhaps she might be able to jump in later on and address some questions as she is a pre-Haas student at Berkeley and also part of the FPF program fall 2021. Okay, so looking at the summer 2022 timeline, right now we are in the period of GBA. And so essentially you're working your way through those modules. There's 4 total. The third module is specific to FPF. And then there is the assignment or the quiz that you are asked to complete in preparation for your advising session with your assigned advisor. There is a lot of information packed into GBA, and I know it's dense, it takes some time. You know, feel free to complete some of it, save your work, walk away, you know, come back and do some more, but please do take the time to go through everything because there's some very important information and resources included in there that's going to be really helpful for you in understanding how to select classes, understanding degree requirements, policy, etc. So July 14th marks the first day of phase 1 enrollment. So phase 1 enrollment runs from July 14th through July 27th. And during that time, you can register for up to 13.5 units. Beginning July 28th, running through August 14th, marks phase 2 enrollment. And during this time, you can register for up to 17.5 units. Do I recommend taking 17.5 units? Not necessarily. I think 13 to 15 units is a great place to start for your first semester at Berkeley. So this information will also be included on your dashboard in Cal Central if you forget when enrollment times begin and end. Before we move to the next slide, I want to give Sophia just a moment to introduce herself. So yeah, Sophia, if you want to unmute and just do a quick little intro.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry my Wi-Fi completely went out, but I'm so happy to fix it and be here with all of you. My name is Sophia DeLuca. I'm a rising sophomore and an FPF ambassador, and I'm an intended business major. So I'm so excited to answer all of your questions and be here today.
Yay, thank you, Sophia. And yes, Wi-Fi, all these technology related issues are real. So I understand completely. Okay, so moving on. So general degree requirements. So these are essentially your GEs. So you have your major preparation, you have electives, essentially, and then you have your general degree requirements. So you see 4 different categories here on this side. Essential skills, reading and composition, quantitative reasoning, and foreign language. This category needs to be, all of these courses need to be completed for a letter grade if you have not already satisfied them with exam scores. UC requirements typically are, well, I should say American history and American institution are typically covered in high school if you went to high school in the United States. These requirements can be satisfied on a pass, no pass basis if you do need to take them at Berkeley. 7 course breadth. This cluster of courses here, these courses often overlap with prerequisites for your intended major. These courses can be taken on a pass, no pass basis if they are not going towards your intended major. These courses cannot be satisfied with exam scores. So they have to be actual coursework. And then finally, the campus requirement of American cultures kind of rounds out your GEs that have to be completed while in LNS at Berkeley. So breadth courses and major requirements, 2 for the price of 1. So what does that mean? So as I mentioned in the slide prior, a lot of majors, preparation for various majors in LNS will overlap with some of the 7 course breadth. So you can count 1 course for both, for the prerequisite and for your intended major. Unfortunately, you cannot do this for Haas. If you are an intended Haas major, Econ 1 and UGB 10 both fall within the social and behavioral sciences breadth. However, you can't satisfy SBS breadth with those courses. So you have to take a separate class for those areas. But for other business related majors, for example, econ, you are very likely to cover social and behavioral science and international studies breadth. Breadth areas that probably will not be covered by your major track are arts and literature, historical studies, philosophy and values, biological sciences, and physical sciences. Something to note about breadth in general is that you have your entire 4 years to satisfy breadth. So there's often some confusion around breadth and, oh, I need to get those covered, within the first year or 2, before I can declare, and that's not the case. So you have your entire 4 years. You don't need to be in a hurry to check these courses off. The priority, I would say, would be your major prerequisites and reading and composition, which does need to be satisfied by the end of your sophomore year. So choosing the appropriate English and math course. So FPF English courses that are available are the College Writing R1A, which satisfies entry level. That's a 6-unit course. The RNC Part A and RNC Part B. So depending upon how you come in to Berkeley, what exams you've taken, you may need all of these courses, you may need none, or you may need some. So that's what GBA kind of helps you determine as you're going through there. And also the one-on-one advising session with your assigned advisor can help provide further clarification if you're not sure. The FPF Math and Stats courses available We don't have the stats course up here, but we do have the calculus. So we have both halves of the Math 1 series. And this is a series that is typically geared more towards the physical sciences. A lot of students will take this series, sometimes for social and behavioral science majors or biosci majors that accept it. It's been around for a while. It is accepted by a lot of majors, but it is a little bit more theoretical versus the Math 16 series, which is a bit more hands-on and applied math. So this might be taught more similarly to how you learned in high school. This math series is supposed to be geared more towards the social sciences, and is recommended for business and econ, those types of majors. And then finally, the Math 10 series is kind of a calculus and statistics combo. And this calculus is, or the Math 10 series is recommended more for the biosci majors. I would not recommend this one for Haas or econ. They both want the Math 1 or the Math 16. So creating a balanced schedule. What you want to be focusing on is integrating in 1 to 2 major prerequisites for your intended major. So, and keep in mind too, that it's okay if you don't take any prerequisites for your intended major in your very first semester. You will not be behind in just 1 semester. However, getting into 1 or 2, sometimes depending upon your major and the recommended 2-year plan, is not a bad idea. If you happen to be pursuing a high demand or a restricted major, then you want to be planning for a backup or an alternative major because of the additional restrictions in applying to an impacted major. So reading and composition is another great course to work into your first semester if needed, as you have that requirement to have this category satisfied by the end of your sophomore year. A breadth and or elective is a great way to round it out. And then I don't know if I've touched on yet enrichment courses. So those are 1 to 2 unit courses that you can access on the main campus, such as decals or Berkeley Connect, PE courses. So those are great ways to bring up your units to 13. They're fun courses. Typically, they're on a pass, no pass basis. So for common business majors, so obviously Haas, which is offered through the Haas School of Business. Economics is another very popular one. Environmental economics and policy, which is actually a major offered through Rouser College. So, and if you wanted to pursue this program, then you would apply for a change of college to Rouser after your first semester at Berkeley, and then political economy, which is an LNS. And you can search for majors on the Berkeley Academic Guide, and the website for that is guide.berkeley.edu. And it's got some lovely filters. I think we have a screenshot here on the next page of some wonderful filters on the left-hand side that you can use, you can apply, you can search by academic areas of interest, by potentially a career that you already know you want, but you don't know which major to start with. You can search by college or school to learn about the majors and minors that are exclusively in that college or school. What I would recommend for all of you at this point, because LNS has 80 plus majors, we have a ton. So go into the guide and maybe search just LNS majors, aside from if you want to pursue Haas, but as your backup to Haas, if it's not econ, look at our other majors just to see everything that we have to offer. There really is a lot. Other majors to consider that are related to business, I think, in that there's some overlap in preparation. Applied math, American studies, environmental sciences, which again, well, that's different than environmental economics and policy, but this one is also in Rausser. Legal studies, political science, global studies, data science, interdisciplinary studies, which is kind of, in a sense, a create your own major, sociology and statistics. So the application criteria for Haas, I'm going to make sure I didn't skip a slide. So the first bullet here points to academic achievement. So this makes up 50% of your application, so your grades. Your GPA, they're going to be looking at your course load and your consistency. So not only how did you do fall, but the remainder of your time up until application. So, and I should kind of backtrack here. You can also, let's say you don't do very well fall, you are adjusting to being a student at Berkeley. There's so many changes and new things going on, but you do really well in your second semester and your sophomore year. They're really paying attention to that. Consistency and impact in extracurricular activities, leadership, maturity, ethical character, teamwork, involvement in clubs and organizations is important, and holding leadership positions. I would say it's more important, or looks a bit better if you don't spread yourself too thin and try and sign up for every organization and club, but you focus on perhaps just one or two that you can really get involved in, really make a difference, and take on an active role. Those are some of the things they're going to be looking at. Your resume. So altogether, they're kind of looking at that whole nugget, but 50% is going to be your grades and coursework. Okay, so Haas prerequisites. So reading and composition, part A and B, is a prerequisite for Haas. 2 semesters of calculus is required. I will share some links with you afterward for both Haas and Econ of exam credit charts that you can go back to if some of you have AP exams and wondering how those apply or plug in to satisfy requirements. I'll share those links towards the end. So 2 semesters of calculus, so math 16 and 16B, math 1A and 1B, or you can split the series. Business 10, Econ 1 or Econ 2, and then statistics. So there's different options for how you want to do the statistics. So a 2-year sample plan for Haas, and this is the same sample plan that I used when advising in LNS for first semester students coming in to main campus directly. Reading and composition and calculus are the 2 prerequisites your very first semester to get started, and then perhaps a backup course, a course for your backup major, a course to satisfy breadth, and then a 1 to 2 unit enrichment course. So the business, the econ, those don't come until later. The stats, everything is really spread out because grades are so important, because this program is so impacted. You want to do as well as you possibly can and set yourself up to succeed. And so postponing business 10 till the spring semester of your first year. And then Econ 1 is in the first semester of your sophomore year. And then the stats in your final semester. So myth is that you need to complete all prereqs by the fall of your sophomore year. So not the case. You're going to be applying in the fall of your sophomore year while you have coursework in progress and coursework planned for spring. So you're applying in the fall of your sophomore year for admission the fall of your junior year. And so just keep that in mind. You can apply once to Haas. And at this time, I want to invite Sophia to jump in. And if you'd like to share, Sophia, what you took your first semester in FPF, and maybe even what you took in the spring in this most recent semester. And if you feel like it, if you have any input speaking to how that transition was also from the fall to the spring.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually funny looking at the sample plan because it's very reminiscent of my own schedule. So yeah, at FPF, I took math and I took English R1A. And I found that to be a really good, I feel like, base just for me. Like, I'm not particularly a math person. And so I like the idea of, taking like an English class, taking a rigorous math class, and then taking 2 breath classes. I felt like that was just the perfect level of rigor to start off college. And then moving into the spring, I ended up taking like UGBA 10. And so that was really different to take like a class like that opposed to like, classes in FPF, because UGBA 10, if you don't know, is like a huge class. Like, you go to a lecture hall and there's like 300 to 500 people and you take your exams all together. So of course it was a little bit, I think, startling to get introduced to that type of feel, but I ended up adapting very quickly, and I actually ended up really enjoying the course as well. And I will say, like, for myself personally, when applying to Haas, like Sarah was right on the money when saying that it's good to pace yourself. Like, my personal goal was to try to do like 2 Haas prereqs a semester, and then only like leave stats for the spring after I apply. And I feel like as of right now, I'm a year in and I've been really happy. I felt like it was very manageable for me. But yeah, definitely don't be afraid to wait and like leave a course or 2 for sophomore spring. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Sophia. That was really, really useful. And also, please, as I move on through the rest of the slides, please feel free to jump in if you have something to add to contribute, because that's students' perspective is really important. So moving on to the next slide. Make sure that is the next one. Okay, so Econ Prerequisites. As you'll see, there's a good amount of overlap between Econ and Haas. You have the Math 1 series or the Math 16, Econ 1 or 2, statistics, and then an upper div Econ or UGBA. And I want to clarify here that another myth I would say is that students feel that if they do the Math 1 series, that it will look better. Because I think the Math 1 series has been in the past kind of considered maybe just a bit more challenging because of it being geared more towards the physical sciences. And Haas will view that in a different way. And that is not the case. I've heard that directly from Haas advisors and admission counselors. So choose the math level that, and same with Econ, choose the math level that is most appropriate for you and what you feel most comfortable with. And so a 2-year sample plan for Econ, similar to Haas, your first semester is calculus and English. Those are the 2 main prerequisites that you can focus on. And then a course for breadth, a course for an alternative major. And another thing I would like to kind of differentiate or clarify between Econ and Haas and restricted majors in general. So the difference I would say between Haas and restricted majors in LNS is that all restricted majors in LNS, if you meet the minimum GPA requirements and the conditions to apply, you will get in. So in the case of Econ, you need a 3.0 minimum GPA in the prereqs and apply by the end of your 5th semester. If you meet those, you will get in. That's not the case with Haas. So you could have straight A's, just be the stellar, you're obviously all amazing, very bright students, but they simply don't have the seats for everybody wanting to apply. So that's where it's a little bit different for Haas, but just keep in mind for Econ as we're going through this, that meeting those conditions, you will be accepted in. With that said, though, we still, as advisors, and same with LNS, strongly encourage students to be planning for an alternative major that is not impacted. On the impacted note, I would say there's probably about 10 total impacted or restricted majors in LNS out of the 80. So that's a very small amount. And when you meet with your advisor in your one-on-one sessions, we can talk about that more with you and how to know which ones are, which ones aren't. It will be indicated on their site though, so that will be known or clear to you.
Just like to quickly add, so sorry. Yeah, because Haas is capped, I know that usually has like a lot of fear surrounded by it, but honestly, like a lot of my friends were all pre-business, and econ is like the perfect backup major because it's only one course difference. You just have to take an econ upper division course, econ 100A or B, and then as long as your GPA meets the requirements, then you can declare econ. So yeah, that's just a very typical pathway. Apply to Haas, but you're actually in very great shape to declare econ even if Haas doesn't work out.
Thank you. Thanks for adding that. Yeah. Okay, so moving on, other pre-business majors that to consider, political economy is a real popular one. This does happen to have some restrictions that are listed here. But the prereqs are Global 45, Econ 1 or 2, in statistics. So you see the overlap there with Econ and Haas. They do want the Berkeley GPA of 2.7, and then environmental econ and policy, which is in Rouser. That is one that also seems to be kind of a real popular alternative. And if you have questions about change of college, we can touch on that also during our one-on-one advising sessions. So with regards to prerequisite courses, these courses should be taken for a letter grade and not pass, no pass. So just to clarify the difference, pass, no pass is a grading option available for most courses that does not affect your GPA. So you can, if you earn an A, B, or C in the class, you will receive a P on your transcript. Your GPA doesn't go up or down. If you receive a D or F in the class, then you receive a NP, and likewise, your GPA doesn't go up or down. So it's a great option to use this for courses that you think you may not do so well in, or you get into with high hopes and things just kind of go the other direction. So just to kind of explain the differences between that. So most majors require prerequisite courses to be taken on the Berkeley campus. And this especially holds true for Haas. So once you begin at Berkeley, as a Berkeley student, all of your prerequisites for Haas must be taken on the Berkeley campus. If you happen to complete anything as a high school student at the college level that's equivalent to the Haas prereqs, you can apply those. However, UGB 10 is the exception. That has to be done here on campus after you've started at Berkeley. So some combinations to avoid with your econ, with your business prereqs. So avoid taking econ and business together. Not a good idea. And it's not to say that it won't work out, but I would say on average, it's not a great way, especially when you have time to spread these requirements out and you want to do as well as you possibly can in these classes. Avoid taking math and stats the same semester. Absolutely, exclamation point, please don't do that. And picking good course combinations, it takes practice. And Sophia, maybe, I don't know if you have any, thoughts on that that you might want to interject with.
Yeah, for sure. These course combo don'ts, really take them seriously because it's absolutely true. And I have friends who, especially the first one, they've kind of, taken a little bit of a nosedive. One thing I would say is econ is actually, LNS has said before in the past that they actually recommend sophomores to take it, and they used to restrict it only for sophomores. So just know that econ is a very rigorous under division course. So to like really prep for it, like, I mean, you have like usually 3 to 4 midterms, and like it's very fast paced. So personally, I like was not gonna start off my year or my freshman year taking off econ. I opted to wait. So that is something to take note of. And then also like definitely think about like the math classes. There's 16, there's 1, there's 10. So they all fulfill the requirement, but really understand like where you think you're most likely to shine and what type of math looks the best for you. And of course, you can even take on the LNS page, like the practice entry exam to the math to see like what level you think might fit best.
That's a good point. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Thank you for touching on that. Okay. So moving on, when a course doesn't count, I know that's on a lot of your minds is making sure that everything counts for something, because you don't want to spend extra time here. And I get it. It's school tuition is expensive, and you've worked so hard to get here, and taking exams and some college level work. But know that most likely prerequisites for any major will fulfill breadth. There will be some overlap, especially if you don't end up doing Haas. If a course helps you explore majors and find something that you're passionate about, that's not a waste of time. A story that I'd like to share is about my mom, who attended UC Berkeley, and she was a sociology major. She ended up taking an elective in cartography, and from that elective, she created a network, and through that network found her first job in her career when she graduated from Berkeley. So just from that one elective that she wasn't even planning on taking. So I know sometimes it's difficult, but try to keep an open mind, when signing up for courses or when you don't get your first selection, take things for fun. Again, to reiterate, entry-level writing, RNC, those are really, the only time-sensitive LNS college requirements. Breadth requirements are not. Those you have your entire 4 years to cover. And also to remember, all units count towards the 120 minimum overall that you need to graduate. So you need to hit that mark, and it's not going to happen with just LNS GEs and major prerequisites alone. So those elective courses are going to help you get there. Okay, so with that, before we get to frequently asked questions, I do want to get to some of the questions that have come in through our Q&A. We have about, it looks like 3 questions. So the first question is, so reading and composition is an option for English, not solely R1A. Okay, so I think what I understand here, and please type in if this is not the case and correct me. But for reading and composition, you have many options across several different departments to satisfy RNC. So it doesn't have to be an English R1A class. So it can be a film, it can be theater, it can be rhetoric, linguistics, comparative lit, African-American studies. A lot of different departments offer options. So you want to be looking at, and you can do searches for RNC courses in the schedule of classes to kind of help separate those out. But typically they're going to have an it'll say R1A or R5A. It's not always a 1. I hope that kind of clarifies for you. And if not, please type back in. The next question is, where can I find what the prerequisites are for my intended major? So that's a really great question. So the best place I can recommend is going to the guide. So that is guide fpf.berkeley.edu. And I can, let me put this in the chat here to you all. This is an excellent resource, and this will take you to all the different programs actually across campus, minors and majors. And you can start with the page there in the guide, and then there's actually a page that links to the guide that takes you directly to the department site that goes into even more detail about the prerequisites for your intended major. It takes time. There's information is very spread out here. You can find it in various places, and I know that can be confusing. So feel free to always reach out to your FPF advisor to get clarification. That's what we're here for. The next question, okay, so it looks like you've written back in. In other words, will RNC Part A and Part B satisfy the first half? So the RNC Part A and B satisfies both halves. So Part A satisfies the first half, Part B satisfies the second half of the requirement. I hope that makes sense. The entry-level writing requirement is separate. So that's a UC-wide requirement. And this may be satisfied with SAT scores. If you happen to take the AWP in high school, I think they offered that in May. If you missed it and you didn't satisfy it with exam scores, there is another AWP on campus being offered, I believe in August. So that will all be on the college writing program site. But entry-level writing is a separate requirement. If it turns out you do need entry-level writing, which is a 6-unit course, that will cover entry-level writing in the first half of reading and composition. And then all you would need after that is Part B. What are the impacted majors of LNS? Ooh, so let me think if I can remember off the top of my head. So you have economics, I believe, so media studies, comp sci, I believe data science is in there as well. I want to say social welfare. There's something called ORMS, which is Operations, Research, and Management Science, which is a very, very teeny major. Those are the main ones I'm thinking of. And, you know, over the years, I've looked for a place on our site that has listed them out, on the LNS site, I should say. And because there are frequent changes to what's restricted and what's not, I think it's really about checking in with your advisor. And let me reassure you, the restrictions to declare are usually not, you know, too crazy. I think there are things that you all can meet. And so, but it's being aware of them. And so, you know, because they can be very specific. So what I would recommend is if you have a major in mind or an academic interest, talk to your FPF advisor about that and the best way to prepare for that major. Okay, so moving on, business and how doable is business and CS after taking part in FPF in freshman fall semester? So, okay, I would say my first initial thought is very doable. I think part of it has to do with your quantitative background because CS is very quantitative. So it can be helpful if you have a solid foundation and you are ready to jump right into Math 1A or even a higher level math. CS is very impacted. So even if you were to come in main campus fall semester, it's not likely that you're going to be able to access CS courses in your very first semester. So flexibility is really key. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. Is it doable? Yes, it is, because the Haas doesn't have a lot of prereqs. But as these are both impacted programs where your GPA is very important, balance is key. So it really depends on the student and your competency and your ability to take on those kinds of loads. Because when you do pursue a double, whatever the programs happen to be, you are taking on heavier loads. That can depend on how many prereqs the program has, both of the programs. Also keep in mind, I have heard that you can still find jobs after Berkeley in programming without having a CS degree. I think a lot of companies are interested in 3 core CS classes. So keep that in mind. I believe it's 61A, 61B, and maybe the CS 70, the prereqs. So, or think about a minor. Those can be some alternatives. Same with business, just to reassure you, you can still pursue a business career or that field without having a business major. So, or being a Haas graduate. So just some things to keep in mind. The next question, what if I am not entirely sure whether I want to apply to Haas and Econ and take a business-oriented path in college? That's a good question. Well, these are all great questions. When is it too late for me to decide? I would say it's not really ever too late, as long as you have some good courses for a solid backup. I think taking the UGBA 10, which hopefully you get into in your second semester, will be really helpful in determining if this is the right fit for you or not, because I've heard that course really gives you a good sense of what the major is about and what to kind of expect if you go that direction. So I think it's kind of seeing how you do in the classes and the prerequisites. And if you're just not feeling it, or if you feel like you're struggling to keep up or with the curves in the classes, then it may be time to regroup. But I would say it's really not too late, as long as you have a solid backup plan for an alternative major. And rest assured, there are a lot of majors in LNS that have only 1 to 2 prerequisites to apply, that have minimal prereqs. So it's not impossible or too difficult. And Sophia, I just saw you unmute. Do you want to?
Yeah, no, just quickly to add, because that's such a valuable question. And, we do tend to change our minds. So like the beauty of a lot of the prereqs is they're very universal. Like a lot, like econ 1 or 2, like that's a requirement for like a lot of the majors I've ever considered. And also just like taking to note, like you can take summer classes, and then like there's a reason why there's a 7 course breadth. It's for you guys to figure out like what sticks, what doesn't stick. So I mean, it's not really like a hard box number. It's just making sure that you understand like your prospective major, knowing the timeline in which you have to apply. So you get all of your classes done by a certain date. But short of that, feel free to take random classes and, kind of like broaden your own interests and see kind of what, speaks to you.
Yeah. And thank you for that, Sophia. And on that, like, I would say that by the first semester of your junior year, say you decide you don't go the Haas route, but you've taken those prereqs and you're kind of, you really have until that time to declare your major and still really be on track. I would say second semester of your junior year is pushing it, but don't panic. The next question here is, what is a typical course choice for pre-Haas FPF students, since FPF students can only take 1 class in LNS? So a really great question that comes up. And thinking about the slide that came up in our webinar, we offer the courses to get you off on the right track. This is the same plan that I advised for LNS students when I was advising their reading and composition and calculus. So those are the 2 that you should be focusing on in your very first semester. And then that 3rd course could be a breadth. It could be a backup for your alternative major and an enrichment course. So that can work just fine. Okay, the next question, what is the rough acceptance rate of Haas? Oh gosh.
I
Do you
think,
know that, Sophia?
yeah, it's around 30%. And then the average incoming GPA. So when they say average incoming GPA, just your GPA of your prerequisites, not like your breaths and everything. The average incoming GPA was a 3.79, but it's about 30%.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. And I think it continues to kind of creep up just a teeny bit each year. Okay, the next question is, are we only allowed to take main campus courses in the approved list in the first semester? Yes, that is correct. This approved list is available in GBA in the schedule planning assignment section. And this is a list that our office receives from the dean's office, LNS dean's office. So those are the approved courses. The remainder, you really do want to focus, your core courses are coming from the FPF curriculum. Is Econ 140 a relevant course to the Haas or Econ majors? That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I would suspect an upper div econ course would definitely be counted towards the econ major. I don't know towards the business major. If it looks interesting to you, I think it could be helpful. I typically don't recommend upper div courses to a first semester student. Not that I'm not sure if you are able to access that course in your first semester, but upper division in your first semester, sometimes even your second, depending upon the nature of the course, is sometimes not the best idea, because you are oftentimes competing with students who have become accustomed to how to be a student at Berkeley, and the pace, the rhythm of the courses. So just something to keep in mind.
And then if I could also just quickly add, in terms of like if that course is relevant to Haas, the Haas admissions committee is only going to be looking at the prereqs, which you can find on the Berkeley Academic Course Guide. So if you take Econ 140 and do really well, unfortunately, they're not going to factor that into your GPA. But I mean, if you want more exposure to like, econ, or, just a general understanding for yourself as a student, I say definitely consider it, but it's not something that can kind of put you over the top in terms of applying.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, next question, how do international students prove entry-level writing? That one is a little bit more specific, and there are very clear-cut ways. What I would recommend for this individual writing in is please reach out to your assigned caseload advisor, and we can go over that with you through email. The next question, yes. So another question about accessing main campus courses off the approved list. That is correct. So just to reiterate, a main campus course of 3 units or more has to come off of this approved list. 2 units or less, you can access a lot, quite a few courses, with the exception of seminars. Those typically are the ones that our students cannot access. Remainder of 2 units, most of them our students can take on the main campus. Next question, which is, thank you for asking this. What is a decal class? And I should have explained that. So a decal class is a course taught by a student at Berkeley who is sponsored by a faculty member. It stands for Democratic Education at Cal. And some really cool, unique topics. Sophia, have you taken, I don't know if you want to jump in here.
I would love to. Yeah, I took a decal last semester and I love it. So basically how you register for a decal is the same way you register for your other campus courses. It's just going to be through Cal Central. And so you just enter the course number, add it to your shopping cart, and you can declare it. I personally took a woman in leadership decal last semester and I loved it. It was so fun. We met every Wednesday for 2 hours and we ended up watching a lot of films on female leaders. So I really love taking decals. It's a great way to just meet people. And then, they have a lot of really fun ones, like UC Hogwarts is a big one, or the K-pop, the BTS decal. So yeah, I say definitely feel free to take decals, and all decal classes are pass, no pass automatically. So it's not high pressure and, getting a high grade or anything like that. It's just for you to learn something new in a more low stakes environment.
All right, thank you, Sophia. Okay, so we're almost out of time. I'm trying to get to a question that's kind of coming up a lot here. So studying abroad, when do students typically study abroad? That's a really great question. And I would say in the time that I've been advising at Berkeley, it seems that after a student is declared, so junior or senior year, or sometimes a student will even tack on an extra semester after they finish all their requirements and they choose that time to go abroad. Summers can also be an option. I think there are still programs for going prior to declaration available. There's different ways in which you can research study abroad options. So one is through the EAP study abroad program. Another way is talking to your advisor, because sometimes going directly to the department, the academic departments you're interested in pursuing, they may have programs that are tied and connected to your area of study, and you may be able to pursue that program and take potentially courses that will satisfy major requirements and kind of tie it in together that way. But those studying abroad is definitely something that can be touched on more during your advising session with your FPF advisor. I'll get to this one really quick too, excuse me. Lower division courses, upper division, what's the difference? Lower division are courses numbered 99 and below. Upper division are courses numbered 100 to 199. And then 200 is typically grad level, I think. So lower division is kind of what you want to be focusing on in your first year. There's some unit requirements within LNS specific to upper division. You need a minimum of 36 upper division units to graduate. You'll get most of those units, if not all, once you declare in your major. So you don't have to go out of your way or do anything extra or special to try and take upper div requirements now, or feel that need or sense of urgency to cover those now. Before we close today, I do want to include those links for the exam scores, the charts, for those of you who may be curious about that. And while I'm doing that, Sophia, is there any last final comments or thoughts you want to add to our attendees?
Thank you so much for coming, and you guys have such amazing questions. Yeah, definitely. If you have any questions also, I know the ambassadors are going to be having office hours you can pop in, and we'd love to help you guys. I know it's definitely can feel overwhelming, but don't worry, you all have this. We are so excited to welcome you to campus in the fall, and I'm so excited to hopefully meet you in person. But yeah, always feel free to reach out, and especially if you ever have any questions for me, I love questions, so never be afraid to ask me, or go to FPF email, because we really want to help you.
Yeah, thank you, Sophia. Yeah, thank you for joining us today, and all your input. The student's perspective is so important. And I feel like for the business and econ, there's so much to cover. I feel like there's more we could have gone into a little bit, but please know that advisors are here. You're assigned caseload advisors, so utilize us. That's what we're here for. Take advantage, and also don't hesitate to look at the websites, because there's a lot of really useful information on there as well. So thank you again all for joining us this afternoon, and good luck with the rest of GBA. And I look forward to meeting some of you in the summer months to come and working with you all. Take
Thank you
care.
so much.